cardinal has already survived something that should have killed him. He looks like a bird that has never been touched, but something already found him, already had him, and he came back. Most people fill a feeder for years and never ask what their birds have been through, not because they don't care, because nobody ever told them what they were actually looking at. Subscribe to Bird Sense right now. This is exactly the kind of thing we uncover every week, and what your cardinal has already survived, and what it cost him to still be here. That is what changes everything. To understand what he is actually doing, every time he lands on your feeder, you have to understand how unlikely it is that he is there at all. Wild bird mortality rates are staggering by any measure. Studies tracking songbird survival in North America have found that roughly half of all adult songbirds do not make it through any given year. For a bird in his first year of life, the numbers are even worse. Mortality in the first 12 months can run as high as 70 to 80%, depending on species, location, and season. If your cardinal is more than a year old, which most feeder regulars are, he has already beaten odds that claim the majority of birds born alongside him. The ones you do not see at your feeder anymore are not birds that moved on. Most of them are simply gone, taken by something that did not give them a second chance. Here is where it gets strange. A bird that makes it past that first brutal year does not get safer in any simple sense. What he gets is better, more experienced, faster at reading threats, harder to fool. But the threats do not stop. A typical backyard in the eastern United States hosts hawks, domestic cats, window strikes, disease, parasites, and temperature extremes that can kill a small bird overnight. Researchers tracking marked cardinals in long-term studies have found individuals living 7, 8, even 15 years in the wild. But those birds are exceptional precisely because the hazards never relent. Every bird at your feeder that has made it more than a season has already navigated all of it, again and again, without a single miss. He did not get to be a regular at your feeder by accident, which means when your cardinal lands on your feeder this morning, he is not just a bird eating. He is a specific individual with a specific history, and that history almost certainly includes at least one moment where something went very wrong and he made it out anyway. A hawk that came close enough to pull a tail feather, a window strike that left him grounded for 20 minutes on a lawn in Georgia or a driveway in Ohio before his senses came back enough to fly. A hard freeze in January that killed every insect in a Tennessee hollow and forced him to find food on reserves he barely had. He did not survive these things because he was lucky in any casual sense. He survived them because he was fast enough, or smart enough, or just experienced enough to do one thing right in a moment when one thing wrong would have ended it. Most people look at a cardinal and see color, vivid red against a winter feeder or against summer green, and the image is so striking that it stops there. What they are not seeing is the record written into that bird, the narrow escapes that left no visible mark, the injuries that healed, the winters that nearly did not end in time. A bird does not carry his history the way a person does. There is no scar you can read, no limp that tells the story, no moment where he pauses and shows you what he has been through. He just shows up at your feeder on a Tuesday morning in November, as clean and certain as the first time you ever saw him, and nothing in his posture tells you what it took to get back here. The record is real. It is just written in a language you were never taught to read. But researchers found something they did not expect when they studied long-term survivorship in wild cardinals. The birds that made it farthest were not necessarily the strongest at the start. They were the ones who learned fastest from close calls, who adjusted their behavior after a near miss, who changed their feeding time, their approach angle, their territory boundary in response to a threat that had nearly caught them. Survival in a backyard bird, over years, looks less like raw toughness and more like accumulated knowledge. Every close call that did not kill him taught him something the bird that died in that same moment never got to learn. That education does not show on the outside, but it runs underneath every move he makes, shaping the timing and the routes and the decisions that have kept him alive long enough to be standing at your feeder this morning, which means the cardinal outside your window right now is running on a curriculum built from actual danger, one that started the day he left the nest in some backyard in the Carolinas or a hedgerow in Illinois, and has been adding to itself every single day since. Every hawk he has seen, every cat he has outrun, every winter, he has made it through by finding the right roost, the right food source, the right windbreak, before the temperature dropped below the point of no return. None of it is visible to you, standing at your kitchen window in Michigan or Texas or Virginia, but it is in every decision he makes, written into the reflexes and the routes and the timing that keep him alive in a world that has been trying to end him since before he was old enough to fly. Here is where it gets even stranger. The encounters that built that education may not all be ones you never saw. That morning last winter, when a hawk came through your yard and every bird scattered, one of them may have come within a foot of being taken. The day you found a bird stunned against your window and watched it sit motionless on the ground for 10 minutes before it finally flew. That was a survivor in the exact moment of surviving. What looked like a close call you happened to see was actually a chapter in a biography that has been running for years and will keep running as long as he keeps getting that one thing right. The yard you thought you were simply watching turns out to have been a stage for this the entire time, and the performances have been going on long before you started paying attention, which means the next time your cardinal lands on your feeder, take one extra second before you look away. He is not decoration. He is not background. He is a specific bird who has made it through years of a world designed to end small things. And he has made it here, to your yard, to this morning, to this exact branch, against odds that claimed most of the birds that hatched the same spring he did. You did not choose him. He arrived because he was good enough at surviving to still exist. And every time he comes back, he is doing it again, making the 1,000 small decisions that add up to one more day, one more winter, one more morning at your feeder, against everything that has been trying to stop him since the very beginning.